just recently passing my 10th year anniversary in the real estate business, and just building an amazing business by referral, which, is absolutely the best way to do it, in my opinion. There's a million ways to build this real estate business, but by referral is so important. While reading The Compound Effect right here by Darren Hardy, I absolutely was reminded of the nuances to building business by referral and the amazing opportunity that it provides as real estate agents. So we're going to talk about this book and my reaction to it next, so stay tuned. What's up, guys? Jeremy Kane, Real Estate Agent Playbook, helping you win every single day at the game of real estate, both in the podcast community as well as YouTube. Please like, comment, subscribe on YouTube, and share this podcast with any agent that you think could use the knowledge. And we're just growing that community. So if you're trying to, help me out, leave a review. I'd be happy to help. Super interested in this book, The Compound Effect, and I really enjoyed reading it because it was really just kind of social proof, so to speak, at how I built my business and how I went about it. And obviously being 10 years in and having some things, just some really good reminders. And if you haven't experienced the compound effect in your business and you've been in for a little bit, I would love to sit down with you and have a chat. This is something we absolutely talk about weekly in our masterminds that we have. We have 5 different masterminds associated with our group, the Wolfpack. If you're interested in that and talking about that, please check out reagentwolfpack.com. I would be happy to discuss what we're doing and what we could possibly do in partnership to help you compound your business. So let's get into this episode here. Now, reading this book, a lot of times when we're talking about, the compound effect, we just think things kind of happen naturally, right? We need to get a listing so that we can leverage that to get buyers, and the truth is that to really experience this compound effect positively in your business, you have to have a system to it, right? And so just like anything else, we think things kind of happen, but when we really look back, we can see, okay, it was these specific actions and this specific system and process that led me to, convert this FSBO into a seller, or, convert this seller, who's talking about, renting for a while into a buyer as well. So we're double ending it. So just those systematization things that really can help you build a business is something here. And it's not just luck. It's not just, it's not second nature for these things just to compound on each other. You have to have a system in place to make that happen and absolutely leverage every single piece of the compound effect. And one thing they talk about is the luck formula, which, is preparation, right? So personal growth, being ready, having the energy to serve and being flexible to understand, what's coming at you and how you can do that, right? So we can have systems and processes, but flexibility is huge. And that kind of comes from the personal growth, right? What's your mindset? What's your reaction? What's your work-life balance? All of those things play into how we react to certain situations. And, if we can be problem solvers, we will absolutely take it to the next level. So the next piece is attitude, right? So it's a belief and mindset that anything can be possible. You can serve anybody, you can help anyone become a homeowner, all of those things. So believe in what you're selling, essentially, right? The best salesmen absolutely believe in what they're selling. And it's not just the script that they convert. They actually have to have a belief in what they're selling. We're selling home ownership. We're selling the power of real estate, the leverage of using other people's money, to build wealth, all of those things. But you have to actually have a belief. You have to believe that it's a good time to buy. You have to believe that it's a good time to sell, and in your own soul, so that you can portray that in an authentic way to your clients. The next part of the luck formula is opportunity, right? Presence and positioning is absolutely key. So you have to be in the right place at the right time. But when you see an opportunity, when you see, somebody that's floundering a little bit and about to make, a decision that may not work, you have to seize that opportunity, step up with value. Just yesterday, I was at a training and they were talking about it, and the speaker, was on stage, and she's a client of mine, and she was talking about her son and how he was, asked to move back in the house, and she said nope, and he's going to go rent an apartment. Well, her son and I have talked about purchasing a home and whatever, so I reached out and I said, don't do it. Like, we can make this work. If you're going to pay $1,300 for rent, we could possibly get into some sort of multifamily or a house hack situation where, maybe you're not in the perfect cash flow situation. Maybe, you're taking up a room, so you're going to pay $800 to $1,000, but that's going towards your financial success, not just, somebody else's. So you're not throwing away $1,300, $1,500 a month while you're kind of trying to prepare for that perfect cash flow situation, right? And then maybe we're able to have him in there, gets in there, benefits from the equity gain that's coming when the interest rates drop. The interest rates drop, he can refinance, he can remove himself from that, replace his rent, so to speak, that he's paying, and absolutely level up. So taking advantage of that opportunity, having the understanding of, okay, what's the problem? What's the reason that we would go to rent at this point in time? Well, there's no perfect cash flow opportunity. Well, I'm telling you right now, renting is no cash flow opportunity for anyone. So kind of jumping on that and seizing the opportunity, and how you position it matters, right? People's lives, this is people's lives, so to speak. So super important. And then action, executing on the opportunity when it's presented. Exactly what I did. Start a conversation. He's going camping Friday. He'll be back Monday. Let's hit the ground running, see if we can make something work. This is absolutely, a situation where I know the parents, I know the son, I know the parents are willing to help a little bit, but they don't want him to live with them for 6 to 7 months. So how do we massage that? How do we take action and build out the plan and actually execute on a plan so that, they're not mad at me when he's staying with them for 7 months, but, he's also not throwing away a ton of money in rent. So just seizing that opportunity, that's the luck formula, right? Luck isn't just, I happen to stumble upon this client and here we are. No, it's paying attention, being present, having the energy as in the personal development space to be prepared, have the right attitude, mindset, seize that opportunity when you hear it, right? Locate that opportunity and then attack that situation with action. And that's really what, luck is. So if you're just waiting on, that agent's lucky, they have so many clients, it's not that. They're putting this system into place. They're, executing, and then they are in the right place at the right time. They do have other conversations because, being right place, right time is one thing, but executing on an opportunity and converting that into business, and then, having the ability to leverage and compound off of that business is what this book is all about. The next thing we talk about is association, right? In this book, they talk about it a ton. You are, or you will be, the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with. So take a step back, right? Is your friend group really the group that you need to be associating with? Yes, it's comfortable. Yes, it's fun. But are they helping you level up? Doesn't mean, you can't ever, talk to your friends again, go find new friends. That's not what I'm saying. Because, again, you can have the luck formula involved there eventually. But you also need to see, okay, in my business, who am I surrounding myself with? This was huge when I made this transition from, my dad's brokerage to the brokerage I'm at now. The ability to go from a local, small, 1,000-person, brokerage where, 10 to 15 of the agents are producing at a high level, to an organization, a global organization where, 100 to 150 to 200 agents are absolutely, crushing it, right? Producing at even higher levels than I could even imagine. And so that's definitely pulled my success up, and it's pulled my competition up, and allowed me to be one of the top agents out of 2,000 agents in our entire organization, because that competition feeds the fire. We mastermind, we have true masterminds. It's not just, hey, somebody up on stage talking. It's hey, let's collaborate here. Let's do this, right? We have top level training, but then the connections that are made on the outside, picking up the phone, calling somebody else in the organization, maybe in a different market, who I would never even have access to at a traditional brick and mortar brokerage. So that's absolutely the key, is associating yourself within your business, within your position, to, be around, the 5 best possible people you can to help you level up. The next is disassociation, right? Disassociate from the people that are constantly chatting about, how bad life is, right? We can't have that negative mindset, that constant pulling down, right? If every time we get together, we have to, convince them that life's worth living and that kind of stuff. Now, I'm not saying just throw them in the dumpster if that's where they're at, but, definitely kind of disassociate yourself with some of that negative talk, and, the market's going to crash and real estate agents are dumb and, all of this thing, because if they don't believe in what we're trying to do together, then they're just dragging you back. They're planting seeds of doubt in your mind, which is absolutely a problem. So the next thing I want to talk about is limited association, right? So they talk a ton in this book about this, and I kind of touched on it when I was talking about your friends, and just you don't want to leave them in the dust, but they talk a ton about 3-minute people, 3-hour people, and 3-day people. And that's something, do you want to go on a retreat with these higher level? Will this put you in kind of that average of the 5 people? Like, that's where you want to go on a 3-day retreat with, like, always leveling up, always, great connection and energy within that group, right? 3-hour people, maybe this is, your family or somebody that falls into this. Okay, like, I can handle that for 3 hours, but then I got to move on, right? And the 3-minute people, those are the people that we probably should start to phase out. Can't stand them for 3 minutes. Then we probably don't have a ton of connection. They're probably not serving you. It's not serving you to serve them in that time. So that's kind of an interesting way to think about it. 3-day, 3-hour, 3-minute people. Then what we want to do as far as association goes is we want to expand our associations with the people that are constantly pushing you, right? Those people that you can absolutely trust, call in time of need. They're going to be real with you. They're going to be raw with you. They're going to tell you exactly how it is, right? We don't need a lot of cheerleaders in our entrepreneurial space. There's definitely a time and place for them, but we need honest, legit feedback, right? Just today, I was, talking to a lender partner of mine, and she's like, "Hey, Jeremy, I want honest feedback on this email I'm about to send out. What do you think as a participant, as a receiver? What's your thoughts?" We had a 10 to 15 minute conversation. She's like, "Boom, that's great. Thank you so much." She recrafted the email. She sent it out, and we'll see what the results come. But having those people that you can absolutely rely on in those times to give it to you raw and real. We don't need the rah cheerleading, whatever. We can kind of handle that ourselves. There is a time and place for that, but when we're doing this, we definitely want to expand on those associations that are going to give you those absolutely truth bombs every chance they can. And kind of pushing that forward, that's kind of like the peak performance partner is what they call it in this book. And maybe you just call them on a weekly check-in basis, and you say, "Hey, give me one thing that I should stop doing right away. Give me one thing I should start doing." Right? So they're in conjunction with you. They're in collaboration with you, so they see it. Give me one thing to stop and one thing to start this week. Go. And then you give them one, and it's kind of like an accountability partner. I really hate that term, because if you need someone to tell you when you're doing something wrong, it's a whole thing. But tell me one thing I should start, one thing I should stop, and let's go. I'm going to execute. No questions asked. I'm going to go with it because I trust you. I know that you're kind of an onlooker that has, some clout. So that's really a cool way to kind of incorporate these associations and do that. The next thing they talk about is investing in mentorship, coaching, right? I'd be happy to talk with you about, traditional game plan. I'm not a coach. I'm not going to sit here and sell you on that. I think what I provide my group, that my downline at EXP, is a ton of support and coaching and culture within our group to really level you up. I don't necessarily charge people to coach. Hey, I don't need somebody to, call me and be like, "Okay, what do I need to do today? Make 5 calls. Did you make the calls? How'd it go?" That's not really what I'm here. I love coaching to the masses, and then having these one-on-one partnerships within my downline to help people scale to the next level. So if you're interested in that, definitely book a call, reagentwolfpack.com, and we can go from there. But the next is, develop your own personal board of advisors. Okay, so we're kind of moving from the, peak performance partner to an entire board, right? Let's have 5 or 6 people that can all have input on this business. Maybe they are business partners. Maybe they're just, a group of successful people. This is what I feel kind of at the Wolfpack, how we kind of have that, our icon agents, and, all the icon agents are kind of, in communication, whether it's one-off texts or, engaging in socials and that kind of stuff. But if you can have that board of advisors of the people around you that are kind of in your same life cycle and your same production cycle, then that's huge. And that's absolutely something that's available to us through the great group at the Wolfpack. Okay, so it's big takeaway time. The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy, absolutely worth a read. I'll flash it up here one more time so you can search it on Amazon. I'll put a link below. No affiliate link, just so you can grab it real quick if you want. The Compound Effect is about personal excellence, right? Andy Frisella, personal excellence is the ultimate rebellion. He kind of goes in the political way, but it's also about business, and he's an excellent leader. So personal excellence is how we kind of set ourselves apart, how we make a difference in the world, which, last I checked, everyone kind of wants to make a difference in the world. But the big takeaway is how you do one thing is how you do everything. how you start your real estate business is how you're going to continue it, right? You can make changes, you can make adjustments, but that energy level, that input versus the output is something huge. So how you do one thing is how you do everything. And then if you do everything, even the beginning parts of your business, if you're, focused on them and you're taking care of them, you're giving them care and you're building these pillars, giving it a good foundation, that'll absolutely compound into similar, actions, which will produce similar results as you move forward. And then once we have that foundation, once you have that routine that you're absolutely pouring into and your work ethic, then we're going to start talking about, measure what's managed, right? What gets measured gets managed. And then you can, make those small tweaks and that, hey, this isn't working anymore, kind of change the wrapping paper, whatever that might be. But what gets measured gets managed, and you can then have complete domination when the compound effect takes full effect, because it's really easy to say, yeah, I'm going to do this right, I'm going to work hard, I'm going to run through this brick wall. We all know that that's not going to be, salvageable for the next 40 years. You're going to be a very different person. You're going to have very different energy in 40 years. But if we're doing everything the right way, we're measuring it, we're managing it, we're not doing too much extra, we're seeing what's working, we're making tweaks, we're continuing with that pursuit, with that system and process, the compound effect will absolutely change your life. So I hope this one helps. Definitely a good read. Go out and check it out. Please like, comment, subscribe, share this with any real estate agents that might need it. Whether you're on YouTube, you can share it, or on the podcast. I'd be grateful for that. Have a good one. Bye-bye.